It is Ray Skywalker's Sunday morning. Let us meditate like a Jedi. Let us play with the latest iteration of Buddha's easy meditation. Harken back to the halcyon days of junior high when the PE teacher or gym teacher would insist that before we could do our main event, we had to first warm up. Then after the main event, before we could return to class, we most certainly had to cool down. We're going to follow a similar paradigm this morning. The view of reality that supports letting go is the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path that could be described as Mahayoga's wisdom warm-up. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge controlling tendencies with all follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors or statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that safest chance explaining metaphors as similes. All right, so let us begin with the word may. May here does not infer a supplication to a real or imagined celestial entity. Au contraire, we are using words to guide our own intention. Each of us was born with a parasympathetic nervous system that has evolved specifically to help us let go, to maintain our mental health. Due to the caprice of evolution, it often is drowned out by the three-ring circus that is our cerebral cortex. This warm-up, specifically, and mindfulness and meditation overall, help us to help our parasympathetic nervous system to reclaim its primacy. To do that, we're going to review ideas that we are already familiar with in a way that, once again, that helps to limber up our mind, to kind of shake us free of the knots and tension of maladaptive preconceptions. The Buddha was fond of simplicity, and in the name of simplicity, he organized all that can be perceived into four categories known as the four bases of mindfulness. In Pali, this was described as satipatthana. Sometimes I get my vocabulary confused and I have to check myself. Yes, satipatthana. So what are they? They are the circumstantial and the physical and the interpersonal and the mental. This morning we're going to begin with the circumstantial. A monosyllabic synonym of circumstances would be lots. All complex animals on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Therefore, it should come as little surprise that in every culture you will find figures of speech. We are wired for them. We are going to use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, and we are going to use the inference of absorption as a metaphor of interdependence. Just as a forester might fight fire with fire, We are going to fight self-centeredness with self-centeredness, which is delicious in its irony. Please chant with me. May we see how all circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. Now we're going to take all these words and coalesce them down to just 6 syllables, which we're going to divide between our inhalation and our exhalation. See? Please chant with me. May we feel how all bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. May we hear how all interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. One doesn't have to read many books on Buddhism before stumbling upon the word empty. When emptiness is in the hands of those who are habitually rigid, emptiness is assumed to be a literal word. And great confusion ensues, resulting in either superstitious faith or pseudo-intellectual machinations, neither of which are useful. Upon the path of flexibility, we recognize that words can sometimes be figurative. Any English teacher worth their salt will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So in the second page of this chant, we're going to explore real-world examples of a non-graspable vast empty void. Let's chant. May we feel how all perceiving, emoting, intending, thinking, recalling, and imagining minds could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Having completed our mental warm-up, We turn now to the seventh and eighth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which have been described as Ati Yoga's mindfulness and meditation. And we will explore these and practice these together as a team after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So now we stand on the precipice of Ati Yoga's mindfulness and meditation. But this Ati Yoga is supported by the energy work known as Anu Yoga. There are many forms of Anu Yoga. My favorite is finger gesture-oriented Anu Yoga known as Mudra, or described as Mudra Anu Yoga. So let's explore this real quickly. We come to the phrase first collection, which infers that there are multiple collections. We're going to practice 4 collections of silent meditation. So it's 4 collections of 96 rounds each of silent meditation. Now that can be a bit mind-boggling, so we break it down to smaller things. On our left hand, we're going to count 8 sets. And on our right hand, we're going to count 12 rounds, assuming that a round is just 1 inhalation and 1 exhalation, together as a team. Now this is going to make more sense when we understand what we're doing with our mind during that inhalation and that exhalation. So let's do that right now. Ati Yoga is all about mindfulness and meditation. What if mindfulness was simply noticing in a very special way? Not in a yang way of focus, for doing so exhausts our prefrontal cortex and activates our amygdala, the almond-sized seat of both anxiety and aggression. Instead, we're going to notice in harmony with the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. The sympathetic nervous system that has evolved to notice in a very special way, that has evolved to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. In other words, the path of yin. But what have we evolved to notice? We've evolved to notice mind's antics of perception, such as sight, sound, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. Now, what if there was a way to do this that was effective as it was easy? Fortunately, there is. Simply, silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. But what are we to do with all of that which we perceived? Or it can feel somewhat overwhelming. And the answer is quite simple. We meditate. But how does that work? Meditation is simply relaxing in harmony with our exhalation in a way that relies upon our parasympathetic nervous system in such a manner that induces that which we perceived during our previous inhalation to at least fleetingly feel less solid, less permanent, and even less defining. So for instance, we might notice, oh, look, the sink is full of dishes. Therefore, I must be a terrible adult. So that's us being defined by something we perceived. That's normal and natural. And our job is not to stop that from happening, but to cooperate with our natural processes that will momentarily push the pause button. And it's that little pause that is the key that unlocks our door to greater peace. Fortunately, there's an easy and elegant way to do that, and it is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. Now, in essence, as we inhale, we silently and mentally recite this. As we exhale, we silently and mentally recite ease. And that brings us back to the finger counting. So let's play with that right now. So what I'm going to do is drag us kicking and screaming